Greetings, sunshines and sunnies. It is I, Queen J Lotus Pimp Sunkiss, coming at y'all right quick, right fast, maybe, with a Royale review for Honey. It's been uh, a long time coming, but you know I would be back for LoveCraft Country. Yes, honey, LoveCraft Country. A Royale review for LoveCraft Country. Season 1, the only season they done had. Episode 3. One of my favorite episodes, might I add. And I decided to bring this back definitely in honor of Black History Month. History and the stories about us. So come on over, honey. And without further ado, baby, we're gonna go ahead and get into. So the name of this episode is Holy Ghost. I've also started a playlist for this show. So if you missed my reviews for the first 2 episodes of this show, go ahead, tune into that playlist and go ahead and catch up, okay? And there, you will hear where I first iterate that there are a lot of moving parts to this series. Therefore, when it comes to certain other art pieces that are used to carry on the story of this one art piece, such as poems, music, stories, certain symbolisms and Easter eggs and all that, I'm going to tackle them more in depth in other videos. Therefore, also, I already have I've done some readings on some characters, and you will also want to tune into those as well. And I have made a playlist for those as well. And I'll be sure to leave the links in the comments once again. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the specificities of this episode. Once again, name of the episode is Holy Ghost. And we start off now. My mind wants to say that this is George's funeral, but I don't see a casket. House of never. He could be cremated at this point. House of never. I don't know. This could be one of Letty's moments of taking part of an activity in order to enliven herself, if you will. And we'll hold that thought, right? So last episode, at the very end, Letty died, honey. Letty died. She was shot and killed and then brought back. Once again, darling, make sure you tune into the reviews for the first 2 episodes. And so, being the fact that she was brought back, honey, we are opening this episode with her in church, and everybody is lively. Just as lively as a Black church could possibly be. Holy Ghost, honey, is an understatement. Okay? As we look at what is going on here. And if you look at the picture here that I have here, Letty is the utmost juxtaposition to what's going on. And the people that you see in that photo, honey, ain't even all of the people that is given all that it was supposed to have gave as it concerns the Holy Ghost. That church was live, honey. One of the livest audiences since 106 in Park. But this is set back in the 1950s, so technically 106 in Park copied off them, I guess. I'm just being silly, honey. Anywho, child, Letty. Letty's in church. The church is live. Letty seems to be dead inside. As you can see from this photo, she's just kind of staring blankly into space. Giving that she's trying to get something from the experience, but it's not quite tapping in. She ain't quite there yet. This is going to take longer than just a Sunday in church, you know? Yeah. I also want to point out some colorations here. She has on white and she has a black hat. The black gives me that Letty is mourning herself, mourning what she thought that life was, mourning her ideal of life, her ideal of herself before she died. And she's wearing white. Letty died as a virgin. Someone impure, yet pure at the same time, right? Okay, hold it up. And as we have this scene, there's not much words from, there's not any words from the characters. It's just, giving the experience, visuals of a Black church as we know it. Letty sitting in church. And from the first episode, Ruby mentions, me and Letty haven't sang together since we was in church. And, it's been a long time. So we have that in our minds too, with that recollection that it's been a long time since Letty has been in church. Be it for George's funeral or this particular setting. Either way, the funeral is probably her door opener to getting back into church. Okay. But yeah, all that being said, as Letty is having this experience, there's a voiceover of a Nike ad. And I had to look that up to see like exactly what this poem, spoken word, whatever, what have you, was. And like I said, these specific pieces will be tapped into more in depth in other videos. But in the piece, the voiceover, the girl who is reciting the poem, who I also assume is the writer of the poem. It's not always the case, but I'm assuming that the writer is also the reciter. In this case, it's also giving a Cockney British accent, as she says Letty's name, Letty. Glottal stop in the T. Letty turns into Letty. But all in all, the spoken word piece seems to me to be about purpose. What mark did you leave in the life that you live? Like when you transition onto the other side, what will people remember about you? What will you have left behind? What marks, what impact, what stories? Ultimately, things that would help the people that are still left upon earth, which are things essentially that I feel like you likely would think about after near-death experiences and or having actually died and came back and having these questions like why me, especially after going to a funeral for someone else who was held in high esteem, seen as very pure, if you will, pure spirited, pure hearted, an angel, if you will, and they were not given the same blessing to come back. You start having questions about what makes you so special to have survived the same thing that someone else experienced and they didn't survive. That being said, Letty is experiencing survivor's remorse amongst a whole lot of other shit. PTSD, I feel, is a major theme throughout this series. Amongst the fact that a lot of people are still in the mindset that PTSD is a military thing, and we do have Tick here as that representation. And they do bring up certain things like shell shock and certain other things that gear towards the fact that Tick may have PTSD from being in the military. And that's the thing. Howsoever, PTSD is not exclusive to people who have been in the military. You can have PTSD from any type of trauma. And we see that showing up here with Letty in particular. And this is just a quick little cute little intro. Don't last no more than a minute and some change. And we get the intro. And we get a title card, honey, that says day one. Baby, day one of what? Because they done already been through some of everything. The racism of it all. The freaking multi-eyed monsters of it all. Honey, the family drama of it all. And then some, baby, day one of what? What did you talking about? What did you talking about? But many of us know that when you start seeing title cards like this, it's something supernatural going on, right? It's either something supernatural going on or something detective-like going on or both. And baby, we got both going on. But we gonna hold that thought, honey. We transition to Ruby and Letty walking up the street in this very colorfully coded neighborhood. So we can infer, based off of the nice cars, the coloration, the time period, that this is a white neighborhood, along with the white lady watching them from her house outside her window, and other people looking at them funny as they walk up the street, and Letty having to distract Ruby from being, you know what I'm saying, distracted by the racist white people watching her walk up the street because they feel like she don't have no right to be there, honey. But as they walk up the street, there's this conversation going on where Letitia is running down basically the multitude of favors that Ruby has done for her. Honey, she said bail at the time is $40. So she owe her about $500. I put that in the calculator. I think I put it in right. I put that in the calculator and divided it by 40. And she said that's how much it costs for bail. And honey, it seemed like that came out to 12 and a half. So Letty been in jail 12 and a half times off the backs of seemingly being an activist, being a rebel to society, if you will. That just really like rocked my world. But hold that thought. We'll come back to that, okay? Because there's a multitude of other things that are at play to be addressed before we get to that fact. Now, like I said, Letty is running down a multitude of things that Ruby has taken care of for her. And eventually leads up to, how would you like to not pay rent for the rest of your life? Ruby like, huh? Let it hop up in front of this house was a sign in front of it that say sold. And she like, I bought a house. Now, this house is clearly haunted. Fuck the bullshit. I don't care what you say. That house is clearly haunted. Look at it. Okay? And Ruby's like, how you, now granted, the time period, they probably, to us, it's clearly haunted. But to people in the 1950s where that house is not that old, like it's old, but it ain't that old, it looking like that, ain't anything with it is yeah. To us, it's clearly haunted. But to them, okay, maybe they, we get over on them because of the time period. But Ruby is like, where you get the money to do this? What had happened was, they get inside. Baby, the inside look worse than the outside. Granted, it do got potential. And let it, did the damn thing with it. But yeah, the inside look worse than the outside. And by the time they got inside, Ruby was like, never mind. I see, bro. I see what's going on. And Letty's like, she want to fix it up. She want to make it a boarding house for colored people in need. And Ruby is like, what you done to get this house? And Letty ain't trying to answer none of that. She like, it's 3 floors, not counting the basement, and it's 13 rooms, and this and that and the third. And Ruby is like, you pioneering? Oh, that's what I didn't touch on. There's a flash card, title card or whatever at the beginning, and like I guess you could say the second intro of the episode. And I'm put it up there. And it talks about the actual historic events that this episode is based on, inspired by, all that. And it has to do with Black people pioneering, if you will, moving into dilapidated homes, or homes that are designated in low value, but in quote unquote highbrow areas. And they fix them up and they do their thing, and it causes very racist issues and people coming up missing and things of that nature. And we'll get deeper into that as we get deeper into this episode, okay? But in the midst of this conversation, Ruby brings up that a Black couple moved into an apartment complex on the other side of town, and it started a riot. They didn't want them there. It was all types of hoopla, da. And yes, given the time period, is the block is hot. The block is hot, hot, hot. But also, as Letty says, it's strength in numbers and whatever have you. That is definitely something easier said than done. But if people didn't do it, where would we be? You know what I'm saying? Somebody has to kick it off. And as the title card said, pioneering is dangerous. That's why it ain't for everybody. That's why everybody wasn't doing it. Okay? Because it is indeed dangerous. Okay? But they have that, exchange, and Letty is running down to her that she's trying to return the favor, all the favors she's done for her in her life. She wants to return the favor. She wants her to go into this boarding house business with her, and they make some money. They help out people together, and they help each other together, and all of that. And Ruby's like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to mess up my reputation. I'm trying to apply to this clothing store, this department store down the way, and they already racist. I don't want to bring no unnecessary attention to myself. And Letty's like, I'll help you with your resume, and I'll, mail you a dress or whatever, so you ain't gotta buy a new one and all this, that, and the third. Ruby take a minute to think about it, look at some things, and she like, look, okay, well, I'm gonna take the best room. So that leaves Letty elated, and she like, yes, good, honey. And honey, I ain't even showing you the best part. So she takes her on up, and the best part in her opinion is this elevator that's in the house. Now, especially as this episode is concerned, that elevator is the best part. And when I first seen this, and even to this day, I'm amazed that elevators were even a thing during that time period. And it just really got me wanting to research the history of elevators. But this also reminded me of that horror movie called, I think it's called Devil, and it takes place on an elevator. I ain't never seen the movie, but I've seen a lot of things about the movie. And like I said, this particular element of the episode reminded me of it. But yeah, so she wants to show her the elevator. The elevator is hollow. When she opened the door, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Where is the cart that take everybody up and down? When I hit this and it open, the cart supposed to be there. It ain't supposed to be. I open this and ain't no cart. So Letty looking to up and down and up and down and up and around and to figure out what a cart is. And baby, that cart is starting to drop above her head, honey. I almost took her damn head off. And baby, that is a foreshadowing. Okay? Let her jump back swiftly into the arms of Ruby. Into the arms of the one who loves you. That's just what that part reminded me of. Because it gave me that indication, like, let you jump back. You know what I'm saying? They're your safe haven. They're your crutch, your cushion for when you be skydiving and doing stuff off the rip by the seat of your pants and carrying on. So yeah, I saw some symbolism there in that particular blocking as well. And Letty is clearly shook by the situation, but also like kind of trying to laugh it off. And Ruby is adamant like, that's not funny. That's not funny. That's not funny. Like she like, honey, problematic. F up. And Letty's like, we can get it fixed, we can get it fixed. But as she closes the door and everything, that's a part of it. Cause like back then, I guess, there's the doors that we know to the elevator. And then there's also another door that closes and latches type shit on the old school elevators. And she closed it. And in that exchange, you can see on her face that she's clearly shook by what had just happened was. From that, we transition to this scene with Hippolyta. Ultimately, dealing with all of the fallout, the grieving, mourning of George. And seems like she's in the midst of her usual morning routine. Granted, what should be also still considered here is that George has been kind of an in and out husband and father because he's been a guide. One of the guys in particular that would guide black people, Uber them, if you will, lift them, if you will, even uh, black people throughout different areas and giving them the lowdown on what places are safe, as it concerns the time period, the laws, and the racism of it all. And, there's a guide book, okay? But then George is also one who actively guides black people through their experiences of different states, cities, towns, etc. Okay? So, all that being said, what I gather from this, amongst other things, is that Hippolyta has a routine outside of her routine as a wife when George is there. And a part of their routine is getting up, doing her makeup, putting on her Sunday's best, and being a mom, and, finding ways to distract herself from the fact that George is not there. And in the midst of her being in that usual routine to distract herself from the fact that George is not there, she's also having to now distract herself from the fact that George is not coming back this time. And with that being known in a way that, in just 2 episodes, honey, their relationship was set up so well. And of course, Aunjanue Ellis is such that great of an actress, and Courtney B. Vance is also that much great of an actor, and everybody else involved are so great that you can feel the depths of despair, honey, from like what Hippolyta is experiencing, even if you haven't experienced exactly what she's experiencing, I just wanted to give a shout out to the acting right quick, right fast. And also the cinematography, because being able to shoot people from certain angles to where you can catch their most vulnerable spots that play the most important parts of the active storytelling and catharticism that you need for things like this it's on point. It's on point because, like I said, even if you haven't experienced this, you can still feel it. And that is immaculate, in my opinion. But yeah, Hippolyta is going through her morning routine, putting on her makeup and all of that. A song is playing by Fats Dominoes, Ain't That a Shame? One of the pieces that will be tackled in another video. But the lyrics to the song that play in this particular scene have to do with someone leaving, and the person left behind is ultimately stuck in their routine and feeling stupid because they've yet to accept what's happened. Simply stated, right? Okay. Now in the midst of this, we see Hippolyta going through the emotions of it all. And she pulls out this Dracula book. Hold that thought on that, right? Okay. I want to touch on it right now, but I'm going to go through the review, honey, in order. But she pulls out this book, Dracula. And based off what we know about George already, this is likely his book. And to me, it seems as though through her body language, she pulls it out, she sets it on the table, she touches it, she runs her fingers across the pages and this and that. And she's trying to connect. To me, it seems that she's trying to connect. She's trying to feel George through something, through potentially that book. And in her perceived failure to do so, grows a frustration and rage behind everything. And she starts to rip pages out of the book vigorously, angrily. And in the midst, you can hear Tick and Dee interacting from the kitchen in the midst of this scene. And you can also visually see her being tugged and pulled between feeling enamored by that and then also disturbed and irritated by it at the same time. And it's very understandable due to the fact of her grief. And she is mourning and she wants to feel happy, but doesn't feel that right too, if you will. And it's also Tick and Dee, whoever's in control of the radio, which is likely Tick. They are playing that song by Fats Dominoes. They are playing that song. And that song is definitely more likely having an effect on Hippolyta's perception of her routine at the moment as well. So we then shuffle out into the kitchen. She goes in there for breakfast and everything. Tick is cooking. Dee is setting the table. And they vibing out, listening to the music, though Hippolyta is still in a irritable state. And Tick is trying his best to assure that the spirits are lifted around the household, making sure he's doing his part to accommodate everything as, the best he can. Washing dishes, he cooking, he entertaining Dee, he letting Hippolyta be as she may. And she is, just irritated by his presence. And just off the backs of the grief of it all, you can say that, both of them are reminding her of George and ultimately reminding her that George is not there. And she can clearly see that certain things are being overemphasized in order to try to distract her, amongst her trying to distract herself. So, she's doing it to herself. She can see it even clearer when somebody's doing it to her. Okay, hold it out. She's frustratingly turning over cups and carrying on. And but also being polite at the same time. She's, like I said, letting Tick be who he is and letting him cook and all of that, giving him the space. He lets her know about some guidebook things that had came through, the meal that needed some tending to. And she was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about the due date. I forgot about this and that. Da, da, da. Tick was like, he handled it. And she was like, I needed to approve it and all of that. And Tick was like, it's all good. I look over it all. I approve, it's good. It's handled. And while, those things are good, it's also irritating her, not only because it may remind her of George, but also because it reminds her of George in a way that George would shield her by withholding information and withholding certain duties from her. Because the more duties a person has, the more they find out about the people that they're doing it for. Right? Okay? Hold it out. So, in the midst of setting the table, it seems to me that Dee realizes that she still set the table for 4 when it's now only 3 of them that will be in the house. And so we see Dee being tugged and pulled in her own way between still being a child and being very imaginative and maybe even easily distracted. And, being herself, keeping high spirits and all of that. The ways that she has, like, Tick, the ways that she has, like, George. But then being kind of brought down by the realization that George is not coming back. And we see that for a split second. And then Dee starts to spit out some plans and things that she's had and that she would like for Tick to be a part of. She's kind of used to Tick being there. And here we kind of, not exactly here, but here we get an indication of a little bit of how long it's been since everything. And so it's been a couple of weeks. It's been long enough for Dee to get used to Tick being there. But he lets her know that he won't be spending the night that night because he got some other things to tend to. And we transition from there onto his things to tend to, which is him going over to Monstrose' house. Monstrose is passed out, honey, and we're gonna tap into the symbolisms of everything that's going on in this scene too. So baby, just hold it out, right? But he over there passed out, drunk, and Tick goes and pours water on him, and it's like, I got you, kid. And Monstrose, before the fact, is mumbling a multitude of things, like, you know what I'm saying? And we'll decode the things that he's mumbling in another video as well. But Tick pours water on him, and he's like, I got you, kid. And it's Tick making a connect with his father, who he don't really see it for, type shit. But he feels the need to be there for him. And also, he got some requests of him at the same time. So he says that, gets him up. Monstrose is clearly disturbed. Like, bro, what the fuck? Gosh. He over there in his stupor, honey. You done came in disturbing the peace. The peace as he know it. And Tick is going on and telling the story, one of George's favorite stories, as noted in this scene by Tick, about a time a riot broke out and he and Montrose were surrounded by white racists wanting to attack them. And this quote-unquote hero came out of nowhere with a baseball bat, hitting home runs on all their heads, honey. And all he had to say to them was, I got you, kid. You know what I'm saying? So that's a Jackie Robinson reference. But then also another form of symbolism as it concerns heroism. But hold it out, because that'll be tackled also in another video. And also, we'll have some other implementations throughout this episode, right? So, talk about that, and Tick is like, that's one of George's favorite stories to tell, and he can remember it so vividly as if he were there himself. And this is also a callback to episode 1, and the way that it opens in Tick's dream with him being like in outer space, and there's this war going on, and this, that, and the third, and somebody comes out to save him with a baseball bat. Boom, shakalaka. But in the midst of Tick bringing back up that story, it leads him into saying that they could have used that hero when they were in Arnold. And this leads Montrose into asking about, how Hippolyta and Dee are doing. They are, trying to avoid the subject of really talking about everything that they experienced on their journey to try to save Montrose, and Ed saying that they finna basically have to do off the backs of it, and are doing. Such as lying to Hippolyta about what happened specifically with George. And they done told her that he was just killed by that sheriff that stopped them and all this, that, and the third. But they ain't mentioned none of the monsters and magic and all this. Okay, they ain't talking about all that. So we get into this conversation, which I have seen also in many forums reference that this is something that is consistent in the horror. Y'all, I'm country. That's a problematic word for me. Horror genre. And I recognize it. Where the characters come to grips with having to decide who and or when they reveal the otherworldly experiences that they have experienced. Are they going to believe them? Are they going to think that they are crazy? Are they going to think that they are lying? Are they going to villainize them as a result? This, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? So we get Montrose as more the person who is like, look, we said what we said, it is what it is, let it be. And Tick is like, nah. Because in case I ain't said, amongst everything else, Tick also brings up that he feels like he's worn his welcome out over at Hippolyta and them. Basically, he can pick up the energy of Hippolyta not wanting him there for, whatever reason in the midst of her mourning, okay? And a part of that feeling is also Tick feeling guilty by the fact of knowing that they have lied to her, and him probably also being able to pick up on the fact that she knows intuitively, and just, her being who she is and how she is, that she know that they ain't telling her everything that had happened was. And Montrose wants to just leave it be and act like, you know what I'm saying, what they said is the whole truth. And Tick is like, nah. In his spirit, he just feel like it's not right, and they need to go ahead and come clean about everything. And he wants to do what he feel like Uncle George would do and would want done. And he says, I just feel like if Uncle George were here, he would want us to do this right and find out everything there is to know about this, that, and the third. And before he can even finish his statement, honey, Montrose is acting like a monster. Montrose is losing his temper as he do, banging on the table and carrying on, about to have a whole bitch fit. And they have a silent standoff, if you will. And Tick ultimately submits in the form of storming the fuck out. Now, throughout this scene, we have some glooming opera music and a train rumbling by in the midst of the most tense moments of this here moment. And we'll unpack that in another video. We flash on to the next scene where Letty is essentially doing renovations, and her activist and artist friends are also moving into the house all at the same time. We also eventually learn that she's also planning a housewarming party as well. In the midst of them moving this piano in, we see that guy up there tell her that the elevator is still broken and needs repairing. And Letty informs him that she is working on it, honey. Colored men who work on elevators, it's just hard to come by. And that does make sense given the time period here. Tisk. And again, I'm going to have to do some research on the history of elevators. But yes, as she goes through the house, we kind of briefly meet a couple of the people that are her friends and that are moving in. People that are also seemingly symbols of real people, inspired by real people, real artists and activists, things of that nature that, are pretty well known. Such as she goes through the house and you see her taking pictures and all of that and getting some really nice shots, as well as I was able to get some really nice shots of her. So the cameraman, the camera people for the show were doing the damn thing, because I love when you can get a nice shot of a photographer taking a nice shot. So yeah, she moves on through the house, and this guy's coming in. He has a little dog, and Letty is like, "Oh my gosh, what's his name?" And he says Baldwin. And then when he lifts up and he speaks to Ruby, Ruby has a stack of books, and he's like, "Oh, so you're a novelist as well?" "Me too. I'm James." This is a James Baldwin reference, okay? And that is also kind of like another callback from, I believe it's episode 1, where they play James Baldwin's speech about the Negro and the American Dream. Another thing we'll touch on in another video, okay? And when James says this to Ruby, introducing himself, being friendly and all, she like, "Hey, I'm Ruby," and closes the door in his face, honey. She is not trying to get involved. And baby, I don't blame her, because it can sound like a fun idea, but then, child, all that shacking, it gets messy, and then some other, beautiful dames in the house as well. Don't be too fresh out here, honey. Don't be too fresh. Anywho, Letty, continues to move through the house, and we basically learned that one of her friends is also a dancer, and I'm not sure exactly what dancer that friend is a symbol of, inspired by, but what immediately comes to mind for me is, who immediately comes to mind for me is Debbie Allen. I'll do some further research, of course, when I do a video on the symbolisms of it all, just to see if I can confirm who she is inspired by. But like I said, I picked up on she could very well be a symbol of Debbie Allen. But we learned that she is a dancer essentially through her asking Letty if she'd be interested in turning the basement into a dance studio. And Letty tells her there ain't gonna be no major renovations like talking about until they get that installment plan money. Okay. That means some folks ain't paid what they owe just yet. You know what I'm saying? They tiptoeing about the clucks. Okay. Letty snaps a real good picture of her, and this also reminds me of I'm wondering if this is also inspiration from some real photos that have been taken too of Black people being beautiful Black people throughout history. So yeah, just hold that thought. We'll come back to that in another video too. But that's what it reminds me of. She's taking some real nice shots. So she makes her way on down the stairs. Speaking of the symbolisms and extra Easter eggs and stuff like that, there's also a gospel song playing as Letty moves throughout the house. And hold that thought as well. It'll be in another video. So yeah, she moves on downstairs, and she's preparing to take more pictures of the guys that are moving things in. But Tick ends up being the person that the camera flashes on, and she gets a pic of him, and she's also seemingly shooketh by his presence. She was not expecting him, and they definitely being weird with each other, being all awkward and carrying on with each other, because apparently by the conversation that they have had, they ain't seen each other since George's funeral 3 weeks ago at this time. So it's been 3 weeks since George's funeral since they have seen each other. And he was telling her that he had went by Ruby's house looking for her, all this, that, and the third. And she was like, "What you was looking for me for? I ain't seen you and this and that." And he was like, he thought he needs to come and check in before he leave. And she like, "Oh, leave? Like, you going back to Florida?" He like, "Yeah, it's time. Hip doing better, and so is D." And I'm like, "Sir, you are lying on the slick. I mean, there has been some progress, but also, good and well that the reason why you trying to get up out that house has more to do with you knowing that the lies y'all are telling Hippolyta got her on your ass low-key, high-key. And you know that you ran there reminding her of George and making it hard for her to mourn even more." That's what is going on. But you ain't saying that. And I wonder why. I wonder why he's like not being completely honest with Letty about that fact. But he also brings up like some about he told his job that he would only be gone a couple of days, and that was a month ago. So that's why he gotta, you know what I'm saying, be on a good foot on back. No pun intended, child. This is what came to mind. Anywho, so she invite him to at least stay the night at the house, because they got so many rooms. And I think that's kind of her way of trying to bait him to go ahead and stay there. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And he got to get back. They hug. And in the midst of them hugging, you can see on her face and in the way that they are rocking each other as they hug, they got a good grip on each other and everything. And you know that one, both of them have been longing for and needing the fuck out of that hug, needing it from each other. And also that they got a strong bond going on here. And that neither of them really wants to be separate from the other. So in the midst of them having this lovely embrace, it is disturbed by some white ninjas outside being racist white ninjas. And you hear this loud beeping and carrying on, and everybody run outside to see what is going on. And you get outside, And these boys out here done park their cars. These are neighbors now, child. They done park their cars all in front of the house. Okay, blocking the driveway, blocking the walkway, blocking the yard, and carrying on. And they done roped some brick onto the horns of their cars to disturb the damn peace. And we get a flash of some officers driving by, not to try to handle the situation, but basically waiting for the black people to pop off so that they can arrest and assault the black people for existing and being great and shit. Okay, just it's terrible. You heard of driving while black, and here is moving into a house while black. And this is interesting too. That means that this was also deliberately planned, because another thing that was briefly brought up in Tick and Letty's conversation right before this moment is that Tick was telling her that she's smart to be doing all of this, moving in and planning and all of that on Sunday, because she know everybody gonna be in church and it's a low chance of anybody trying to come over and harass them or anything. And lo and behold, they put Jesus on hold. They put Jesus on hold to come over here and be racist white ninjas. I declare. But everybody is shook it. But Ruby is extra shook it because she like, bruh, I said this was gonna happen, bro. I said this was gonna happen. It's gonna be Trumbull Park all over again. And in this moment, Tick says he is gonna go ahead and stay a little longer, okay? He not here for the bullshit. He is TTG and ready to go in when it's time for to go in. Now, the next morning, Letty is trying to get some good sleep, honey, but she is being harassed by a ghost who has a severely dismembered mouth situation going on. And the lady pulling the covers off her, she's staring at her all crazy and stuff from the side of the bed. It's like, honey, what are you doing? What are you doing? But this is also one of my favorite things about the episode too. I love the way the ghosts are designed and the graphics of it all, the special effects of it all, the makeup of it all. I love it because it is classic haunted house activity, but also taken to the next level. So we also noticed that when Letty jumps up, she is physically and mentally aware that something is disturbing her sleep. Some type of presence is disturbing her sleep. And we also notice that she is drenched in sweat, child. And can also see, not in the pictures that I have present here, but in a scene where she's standing by the window and she tries to open the window, you can also see that the windows are sweating as well. And we can also still hear them horns going outside. You can hear it even better when she opens the window, and she is flustered, rightfully so. And she slams that window back down, and she's going on down the stairs to see what is going on with the hot water heater, what is going on with the AC, what is going on, honey. And she get on down there, and baby, it is a whole lot of, it's tons of creepy stuff left down there, spider webs, books, weird mannequins and stuff, some little weird, that contraption down there, it looked like a torture tool or something of the sort. That's gonna be something that I have to look up as well to figure out what that is. I'm referring to that thing down there on the floor next to her feet in the picture in the bottom middle area of this whole collage that I got posted here. Yeah, I got to find out what that is, okay? Because that is frightening and concerning. But the lower she get down there, the more you can hear voices and hear banging on a door, like someone or some people are down there trying to get out, honey. And it is very eerie. And this also kind of reminds me of The People Under the Stairs, and it also reminds me of The Skeleton Key. And that's real interesting to me too, because Journey Smollett, she wasn't in The Skeleton Key, but Skeleton Key was set in New Orleans, and Journey Smollett was in Eve's Bayou, which was also set in New Orleans and had a lot of witchery, sorcery things going on, and stayed in a big old house, honey. But yeah. Just a few little Easter eggy correlations and things that I noticed. Anywho, so as she has basically gotten the wise notion to go ahead and get up out of there and start heading for the door, we see Tick done made his way to the area, and he, you know what I'm saying, done opened the thingamajig to get down there and see what's going on. He got a flashlight, and he like, what is this, honey? What is this? And she is clearly shooketh by everything that she just experienced down there, honey. Because she was also walking all into the spider webs and walking into the mannequins and stuff, just scaring the entire fuck out of herself. But she tells him what happened. As far as when she was down there, like everything that she heard and saw down there, and he was like, he believes it, especially given everything that they done already been through. As well as, with that being said, it's a case that she could be, experiencing some PTSD type stuff. And also, the neighbors could be committing war tactics against her because some of the things that's been happening, like with the horns and the heat situation and all of that, is very much so possible that they could be doing it because it's stuff that's similar to what their opponents would do to them when he was fighting in Vietnam. So yeah, he's saying that it could be war tactics that they're doing on her. And just in case, he is going to nail shut the windows that are in the basement. And as he walks off, he also said that he was going to like stay up at night to stake out and watch everything. And she was like, you don't have to do that. And he like, nah, I do. I'm going to do it. It's all good. Everybody needs, what I'm saying, somebody like taking their life. And so as he walking out, he like, this is the perfect place for a dark room. And a dark room is one of those rooms that people be doing they photographic stuff in, especially if they got photographs that are taken by Polaroids or different things, like they're trying to what they call it? They're trying to transmute images, edit images, fix images that have like compromised lighting type situations. I hope I'm explaining it correctly. But once you see her actually turn it into the dark room, and you already know that eventually she does that, so you may already have an idea of exactly what that is. And you can also look it up like I did, because I knew about those types of rooms, but I just didn't know that they were called dark rooms. But yeah, and I feel like him saying that is also showing that he is in tune with what Letty needs and desires and what she's passionate about. You see, her friend was talking about, turn it into a dance studio. Okay, everything's about you, huh? What about Letty? You think about what Letty might want to have down there for herself. Shit, but Tick did. Shout out to Tick. Now, the next day is day 8, and the party has started. Letty is flouncing all around the house, enjoying and accommodating. The neighbors are still watching and hating, honey. But it's still talking about the elevator. Letty like, here you go, some water to quench your thirst from walking up and down the stairs then, honey. Basically, I can't do nothing for you, man. I can't do nothing for you, man. Ruben and I'm talking about a new preacher that's coming. That is a shout out to Martin Luther King. Okay, they even say his name here. And they gossiping about, it's a rumor that Martin Luther King was going to marry a white woman who he was very enamored by. But instead, the civil rights collective basically was like, you ain't finna be no activist out here married to a white woman. And the rumor is that they made him marry Coretta Scott King. They made him marry a black woman for his imagery in the movements, okay? Black love, black unity, all that. And Letty comes through and says he can like white women and still be pro-black. Can he? You know what I'm saying? She says it kind of confidently, but then she like, eh. So I kind of feel like she being sarcastic with that. But that is debatable. And it's also debatable as to how sarcastic Letty is being. And it's never directly said that Letty is biracial, but it is kind of inferred and kind of in certain ways displayed that either Letty is biracial or Letty kind of mindfully embraces her white adjacency, if you will. I mean, clearly she's not a white woman, but colorism is a thing. Light privilege is a thing. And I do notice certain ways that Letty acts stereotypically light-skinned and like she's used to being privileged because she is light-skinned. And those types of things can impact her mentality or her belief system as it concerns whether or not someone can be pro-black, whether or not a black person can be pro-black and an activist and be married to someone of the opposite persuasion. But we'll hold that thought on that subject, honey, because that can indeed get lengthy. But y'all let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think that a black person can be pro-black actively and carrying on if they are married to a white person or in a relationship with a white person? Let me know what you think, honey. So Letty makes her way into the kitchen with Hippolyta, and she thank her for the food. And Hippolyta is like, it's no biggie, honey. We got a lot of food left over from the funeral gifts and everything. And she's still clearly, bothered and weighted by the situation. And Hip is asking about D, and D is actually in the other room playing with a Ouija board with some of her friends. And the song that they are listening to, we'll get into it in another video. We'll unpack that song in another video. The song goes from its regular 50s swing to a slowed down, chopped and screwed, scary type version. And Dee's friend Bobo, who is also symbolic of Emmett Till, ask about a trip that he's going on soon and will he have a good time. The Ouija board spells out no, and the lights flash And shit gets real dark here, okay? They ask who they are talking to, and it spells out George is dead. He snaps thinking they did it on purpose. And here Hip hears creepy shit while looking for her and finds a room with this galactic piece in there. And I forgot what the name of this is, but it's gonna come up when it's, you know, absolutely necessary for it to come up. So we'll talk more about that and refer to it by its appropriate name when we get to that. And that'll honestly be in another episode. This is just our first introduction to this galactic piece, and you can see it up there in that picture in the upper right hand corner. And Hip is clearly enamored by this. We flash back to the party. Ruby sings, "Is you is or is you ain't my baby." Hey, okay, that's a funny little cute little song. But that's a song that she's singing, and it is low-key, high-key, setting the theme for some feelings that are about to get evoked here. Tick is already walking around and seeing Letty being real friendly with everybody, even the men, okay? Letty is a natural flirt, and not even necessarily like in a romantic way, a sexual way, or hoish way or anything. She's one of those people that flirt in the form of charisma and social butterfly type shit. Flirting ain't always something promiscuous or romantic. I mean, you can flirt friendly as well, but a lot of people don't think that or want to believe that when it comes to women. If a woman is quote unquote too friendly, they automatically hit her with the whole label. Hence, we have Tick already kind of looking around a little jealously at how Letty is interacting and dancing with different men. But then you also have Big Boy. Damn, can't think of his name right now. I am so sorry. But he gonna reappear, child. But we got Big Boy approaching Tick. And I don't have no picture of him either. But it's okay. Y'all know who I'm talking about if you've seen the episode already. But we got Big Boy approaching Tick, talking about, oh, I see you got your regalia on, honey, because Tick had his uniform on, his military uniform on, and he like, yeah, that's a real nice touch. Let them see that you a military man and all this and that. But I really want to talk to you about Letty. You see what I'm saying? Me and her, we used to tussle back in the day when we was in high school or whatever. Meaning that I used to smash and care. No, that's what he's saying. He used to smash on Letty. You know what I'm saying? And tonight he feeling a little nostalgic, honey. He want to try to get at Letty again, as he say. And Tick is like trying to play it cool, but he also, you know what I'm saying, taking this in, and he also looking at Letty dance very seductively and suggestively with this other man, honey. But she also got her eyes on him, and she seemed like she's trying to stay focused and not get too lost in the sauce, and she turns on around and continues to dance with the man, honey. And yeah, Big Boy is being extra disrespectful and being a typical fuck nigga and showing that the antics of these typical fuck niggas ain't Nathaniel new. Nathaniel. They ain't new, honey. They ain't new. In case you know what I'm saying, can't comprehend my southern colloquialisms and things of that nature. Anywho, Letty end up running out to the restroom. And you can see a ghost in the mirror. She don't notice it, but you can see a brutalized ghost in the mirror. And then the mirror kind of flashes and pans, and you can see Tick in the mirror standing in the doorway. And he walks his own in after they make eye contact, snatches her up. They kissing and making out all aggressively, honey, embracing, and commence to bang, hanging it out. Bang, hanging it out, okay? And she has some red leakage after the fact, and she like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize that my monthly was coming. And he like, it's okay, no big deal. And she looked back at him, and she like, you know, I'll see you downstairs or whatever. And he goes on downstairs, and honey, she turns around and starts to crying, bawling, honey, crying her eyes out, like, God damn, shawty, damn, what's wrong? But he head back downstairs, and then we also notice that she has made her way back downstairs, and she's sitting behind Ruby, who is continuously talking about how she plans to apply to that store, and she's working on her resume, and this is kind of her way of trying to combat the racism that she knows exists there, and she's basically hopeful that if she can make herself look like a perfect Negro, that will help them accept her. And she says that more black people should be like her if they want to see some things change. Now, that is something that is also heavily debatable, and a statement that may also be a bit delusional. But I may do another commentary video on that, as well as certain other things that are said, like, you know, what Letty says about activists and can they be married to the opposite persuasion and fight for their people all at the same time. We might just do a whole like video to unpack some of those statements. Anywho, in the midst of her talking, and you know, Letty is also sitting behind her looking deflated, one could infer that she's just drunk, but we know that she also a little like disheveled and weighted by some things. But in the midst of Ruby running off at the mouth, she notices a light in the yard and gets up, opens the window, and it is a cross burning in the yard. And you can see the perpetrator running off. And this gets Letty completely activated. And Tick catches the flash. He go assemble the troops And they got them shotguns. Letty got a bat and she goes to work. Okay? Goes to work.
She busts the windows at the car. And though it didn't mend her broken heart, she'll probably always have those ugly scars. But right now she don't care about that part. She busts the windows at the car and knocked them bricks off of them horns. And she surrendered when they came for her. And they drove off into the dark. Oh.
Now, in the midst of her going ham for that, bam, a Shirley Caesar song, I believe it's a Shirley Caesar gospel song that is playing, talking about taking everything back that the devil had done stole, honey. Taking it back and knocking his kingdom down, honey. Down to the ground. Baby. Period. Pooh. And we feel that. We feel that real motherfucking heavy. And we're going to feel it even more in another video, okay? Okay. But they got that song playing, baby. And it is well applied because Letty is doing everything, giving everything that was supposed to have been gave on behalf of the ancestors, on behalf of those at the time, on behalf of those to come. Okay? She did exactly what needed to be done. And as you heard in my rendition of Bust the Windows Out That Car, they had done pulled on around, honey. Everybody was TTG. Like I said, Tick had done assembled the troops. They had their shotguns ready to rock and roll. Ruby was the getaway driver, honey. She busted that block one good time, came back around. They put all the weapons in the trunk. She scooped up a couple of folks and got on down. And Letty, Tick, and a couple of her friends, they all surrendered, dropped to the ground, and was taken on off. And of course, because Letty was the only woman that surrendered, she is in a police car by herself. But also, there's a specific agenda to this, okay? Because as she is in the back of this car, this officer, who we learn is Officer Lancaster, he is making snarky, racist remarks about what monkey organization is she with, because her track record is long, honey, and she done been to jail all these times. Yeah, trying to come back, y'all racist bastards. So yeah, he being extra pissed offerson. I just, strung together some words there. But he's being a person that be pissing folks off real good and real bad. Y'all know what I'm saying. Shoot. And he's talking to her about complaints that they done got from the neighbors about her, knowing good and well that it's bogus. And she acts like, well, did you get any of my complaints about them? And him and the other officer acting like they don't know what she's talking about. Of course. And they segue into asking her a bunch of suspicious ass questions about the house, talking about has anything strange happened? Did anybody tell you to buy that house? And she ain't answering because she already know what it is, okay? But then they start driving crazy and throwing her every which way around the back of the car. And she just slamming all up against stuff, done bruised up her good skin and everything. Just terrible. And she light skin, so you gonna see them marks extra good. Just know what they doing, child. Anywho, talking about she can't afford that house. A girl like her can't afford that house, and he want answers. And then he said, you really don't know nothing about that house, do you? We found 8 bodies in the basement. Now this foolishness, baby. You're telling on yourself, honey. Telling on yourself. But so she get back home the next day. It's day 9. And she is in what is now the dark room, going through her pics, and she notices forms of ghosts in her photos that she's taking. She's going all through the house and everything, taking pictures. She always taking pictures of everything, honey. And as she's putting it all together mentally and with the pictures that she got, she scattered them all on the floor. She turned the red light on and everything. And this evokes Hiram Epstein's ghost. And Hiram Epstein is a doctor from back in the day who was also a little scientist on some shit, okay? And he was racist. And he would use black people as his guinea pigs, doing all types of the unthinkable. And he evokes from the daggone pictures, cussing her the fuck out, telling her to get the fuck out of his house. I know you lying. So she scurries on upstairs. She started removing mirrors. There were no mirrors in my nana's house. No mirrors in my nana's house. There were no mirrors in my nana's house. No mirrors in my nana's house. And the beauty that I saw in everything, the beauty in everything, yeah, was in her eyes. I had to hit it right quick, right fast. She starts snatching down the mirrors. And she runs over into like what looks like the dining room area, and she just starts pulling out all types of forms and files, probably other pictures and carrying on. She's trying to put the pieces all the way together, honey. And Ruby is on her back like, yo, hey, folks is trying to move out. They feel like you done put a target on everybody's back, a bigger target on everybody's back, the way you acted a fool the other night. And Letty like, fuck it, it'll be safer for them anyway. Let them do what's best for them. And Ruby is like, we ain't even got the money for the installment. And Letty lets it slip, talking about mama's money will help. Ruby like, what? Mama's money? Drake. So, honey, Letta done shot herself in the foot. And she basically ends up revealing because Ruby was like, so mama left you money? And only you didn't even come to her funeral, like, huh? And Letty basically reveals that she didn't come back like talking about because their mama was hella selfish and neglectful. And we're gonna learn more about this in a later time, okay? But yeah, she said that their mama was very selfish and neglectful. And Ruby basically tells her that she's a manipulative hypocrite because she is worse. And at least their mama ain't never lie or make no excuses or confusion about who she actually was. She said that Letty be trying to act like she's such a good person and like she always trying to do something to help other people when really it's just to help herself. Just like getting Ruby to go in on this boarding house business with her. Ruby feels like she manipulated her and got her into it for the benefit of herself. Basically also because she knew she wouldn't be able to do it on her own, like another way of kind of freeloading off Ruby, if you will. And Ruby basically tells her, I ain't trying to hear none of that shit you talking about. It's bogus. Everything you do is bogus. Everything you been is bogus. Everything you ever be is bogus. I've been up here helping your bogus ass all these years because I thought that you were just a fuck up. But it turns out you just fucked up. Bars. Big bars. Big bars. Ruby snapped. That was a read. That was a roast. That was a gag. And child, it was a bit of a fact. Now, Letty ain't all bad, and she do mean well. There's just an element of, like, I guess it's her trauma response, survival mode type thing going on, and a little bit of that light privilege thing that is playing a part there, I feel like, where she means well, but her fears of, I guess, losing or being alone or things of that nature kick in and cause her to do very self-serving type things. It's good to be self-centered, but it's not good to be excessively self-serving. And it does seem like Letty only helps, like a lot of what she does to help is like it got something to do with her, really. She's gonna benefit off the front end and the back end of it, really. And it can come off like that's the only reason she's doing it. Though we know that that's not all there is to her. She has come through in a multitude of other ways, but it just feels like it's hard to tell, is she doing it for everybody or are those even still vanity projects? But this interaction and this whole experience with her having that interaction with Officer Lancaster, the fact that she died, and all of that has lended towards a major turning point that is now happening for Letty, specifically as a result of Ruby going the entire freak off on her. Now we flash to the next scene. Montrose is sitting on the sidewalk, essentially waiting for Hippolyta to pull up. Hippolyta pulls up in Woody. Y'all know that that's George's car. It's named Woody. And he tells her that he pulled up because he want to see if he can play a couple rounds of baseball with D. And they end up in the library, and he has these books, and he drops these books, and a copy of Dracula pops out of, what he dropped. And Hip is looking like, bruh. And Montrose notices that it's Dracula, and he mentions that was George's favorite book. And Hip is like, basically like she know. And she said she spilled coffee on his child. Lying. What the fuck you lying? But we know why, because she ripped pages out of the book. Angrily. And Hip basically, after all this like pussyfooting and tiptoeing around and carrying on that they do around these subjects of what Hip really wants to talk about, she said basically she know they lying. She know that they ain't saying everything that happened and that some things missing. She can't put a finger on it. She just got a strong feeling. And Montrose insists on gaslighting her. Like, Montrose is the ultimate gaslighter. He always gaslighting somebody. It's like that's his number one talent. What types of jobs do a lot of gaslighting? What? Making ads, lawyers, what else? What else could Montrose do as a career? Just in general, don't consider the time period or nothing, but just in general, could Montrose do as a gaslighter? A professional gaslighter. But Hip ain't having that, okay? She ain't letting up. She said, baby, I know it. I know it. And Montrose like, I don't know what you want me to say. And Hip like, you ain't got to say nothing, because I know. Now, that was a quick little cute little scene. And I loved the color scheme of that scene also. But yeah, that's another video. We'll tap deeper into certain color schemes and color symbolisms and things too. Anywho, flash on over into the next scene. This is day 10, honey. This is the climax. And the rise in action. Anywho, Letty is out. And she's going through a bunch of notes and things that she has collected, that she has been studying and researching to figure out the connects with Officer Lancaster to this house and with this ghostly stuff that's going on, honey. And it seems as though she invited Tick out to meet with her so she could tell him about this, right? And she tells him that the house is haunted. And he said, walk him through it. He sat down, he put his glasses on, honey. He's ready to get into it. And she tell him all that she found out. She got some newspaper articles, some pictures, some all types of stuff. And she tells him about this scientist that was brutally experimenting on black people. And she tells him about the cop, Officer Lancaster, and that he had to have known the scientist. And she pulls up one of the newspapers and she shows some pictures up there, and you see the officer in a picture with, oh boy, the scientist. And apparently, he was supplying subjects to the officers, black people who had gone missing. This brings to my mind that officers, and I feel like I've heard this before in real life, officers being the cause, not all okay, but dirty officers, racist officers, evil officers, wrongfully arresting black people so that they can supply them to different things like human trafficking or being guinea pigs from some deranged racist scientist, amongst other things, okay? Tick tell her, honey, it's time to move out. Them ghosts, they gonna keep going until they pull you on over to the other side with them. They seem upset. And baby, taking these glasses he got on in this scene. But as we wrap this conversation up, Letty ends up segueing and telling him that it was her first time. And he's like, your first time with? And she's talking about the night where they bang, yang, it out at the party. And he's like, oh shit. And he like moves closer to her to like comfort her and whatnot. And you can see like basically in his emoting of it all, it seems like he's having a realization like, oh shit, I should have been more tender. I should have been more romantic and carrying on. You know what I'm saying? And she was like, it's cool. I ain't mad. I don't regret it. She said she just needed to feel something. She been feeling numb. She been feeling like a ghost ever since she been back from the dead. And she just been going and doing, trying to feel something and also run from it at the same time. But she say basically that she's coming to the conclusion that she can't run in fear. She ready to face everything head on. And so this kind of adds depth that all of the things that Letty has been doing over the course of years and moving from place to place and being very flighty has to do with her trying to run from things. And this flashes us on over into the big scene, honey, the showdown. She done called upon a medium, and this medium speaks Creole, and she done slit a goat or sheep. I think it's a sheep. It might be a sheep. But yeah, she done slit the thing throat to get the blood, and she put X's on their foreheads and blood as a form of protection. And they go on downstairs, honey, and she had them take her hands, and they form a circle, and they start chanting. And she calls on Mama Oil to assist them. And oh yeah, Letty has also gotten it in her that she wants to free these spirits, the black spirits, because ultimately they are trapped in that house with also the ghost of that scientist. So all of them are tormented, angry souls trapped in that house with, each other. And it's beef. It's woe right now. That's why it's been so, like it's been. And she's saying that, she wants to free them from being stuck in a place with the brutalizer that brutalized them. And I feel like there's also a part of the turning point that Ruby snapping on her has ignited, and also some dimensions being shown to Letty as well that are to let us know that Letty is not just, a fucked up person. It's more to her than that. She just be fucking up. You know what I'm saying? She was fucking up. She was trying to run from stuff. But at the core of her, she really is good natured, and she really does mean well. She just has always felt the need to overprotect herself because evidently she didn't feel protected by her parents. And that could also play a part in a sense of entitlement that she seemed to be acting in as well. But anywho, as we get back to this ritual that they are doing here, they are chanting in Creole, and eventually some things like silent. And there's this moment of relief, and they let out a little chuckle. But the sprinklers go off
by way of the ghostly jackass himself. And it washes off their marks of protection. Tick and Letty rush on up out of there. The medium lady staggered at the door and got snatched back and done up and possessed. And she started running over to do up Tick, honey, and choke slammed them all up against the wall. She done choke slammed Letty across the damn room, and she over there taking over Tick's body. The ghost done jumped into him. Now he's slowly charging towards Letty, and Letty called on the names of all the black ghosts to help and assemble with her. And she assembled them to chant, and she telling them, look, this ain't over. Y'all can still fight. I'm here. I got your back. Let's do this. Fuck them other niggas. We ride for our niggas, okay? And they chant real hard, and as everything, the hoopla is hoopla-ing, and things is being turned, and like a wind is rushing all up through that. Now they did call on Mama Oya, honey, so I guess she was hard at work, also helping them out, honey, helping them out big time. So much so that a lot of the forms of the ghosts that had came out first, they came out like crawling and everything. It was like thriller night. It was real gruesomely zombified the way that they was coming out, and you can see the marks and the like dismembering and things, the what they call it? It's like vandalism. The vandalism done to their bodies, honey. That's an understatement word. I can't think of the actual word, but you know what I'm saying. The brutality that was done to their bodies and everything. You can see it on all of them. And as they do the chant and it's working, you see their forms basically evolving back to their respective original higher self states. And you can see how they looked before they were brutalized and killed and all that. And it is a very powerful and a very dope ass scene. And not only is it top-notch horror artistry, but it's also so very laced with a fat ass, big ass spiritual message. And I love it. And I would love to do a video just unpacking this scene alone. So be on the lookout for that as well. Anywho, by the time they are all done chanting, also, Tick's body has fallen out, and the scientist ghost has, become visible outside of Tick's body. And they all scream him up out of there, and they cuss him the fuck out. Well, essentially, them and Letty cuss him the fuck out, mainly Letty, and she said, get the fuck out my house. Real strong, real good light, and baby, she ate. Journey ate the fuck out that scene. It don't make no sense for her to not have an Oscar or something from that scene, because we knew that Journey could act her fucking face off, but baby, queen shit, okay? She tore that scene up. And I know that not only was Letty fucking, you know what I'm saying, relieved from that shit and also drained off that shit the way that she look in the picture, but also I know Journey probably had to get some counseling up after that shit. I know Journey had to motherfucking go do a goddamn cleanse and some more shit up off of that shit, but I also know that she was motherfucking proud as fuck of herself up off of this shit. And me too, honey. Me too, baby. Amazing performance. Standing O. Prevo. She deserves all the flowers. Just had to take a moment and give her all that. And shit, I'm gonna give her some more when I do that other video. Boom, shakalaka. Now, in the midst of this, some white ninjas, them same white ninjas, decided they want to break in the house and harass people and wreak havoc and carrying on. And them ancestors spun the block on that ass and took them on up out of here. 2 of them got sprayed in the face and fucked up by that hot ass water that sprayed out. And the other one got decapitated by the elevator. Sew him up and took him on up out of there. And child, the next day, Letty is getting interviewed about all the good things that she's doing with the boarding house and how it's for black folks and it's helping them out and all this, that, and the third. And we see, a multitude of yellow here as well. And the house does seem to have a much better vibe about itself, given the indication that the spell, the ritual that they did worked. And essentially all of that energy and everything that Letty put into it, it worked. And in the midst of, at the conclusion of the interview, the lady asked Letty, did she hear or know anything, or how did she feel about the news about some of her neighbors coming up missing? And Letty plays it off, and it's like, I ain't hear nothing about that. Now, also about this coloration here, this blue and this yellow, blue and yellow symbolize survival and also symbolize rebirth. So that's some good symbolism going on there too with the coloration of it all. But yeah, Letty say she don't know nothing about that. And so they take a picture and Letty is flouncing on about, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nothing happened.
and see kids running around, and it seems like all is well. But when the elevator closes and it descends on down to the basement, we see them guys' bodies down there, laid out, Adam's language scribbled and scrabbled all up and through. And then we also get a pan of the skeletons of all of the other bodies that were left down there. Now, honey, we would think that that's the last scene. But oh no, we get a little outro type scene. Tick so happens to notice Christina across the way, walking into a realtor's office. She dressed in blue, got her hair all tied up, pinned up and everything. And seemed like she in there making a deal, doing something shady. And Tick comes in, prepared to kill her. You know, she shoo the guy that she was in there with. She shoo him away. Now, that may be a symbol of the guy that she was in there with. He was a black guy. He may also be a symbol of another historical public figure of some sort. Now, I'll be sure to look that up. But she shoots him away. And Tick closed the blinds and all. And he telling her, you the one responsible for getting Letty in that house. Ain't no inheritance. So that lets us know there that while Letty, you know what I'm saying, may genuinely think, because they gave her a call or whatever, as she said, she may genuinely think that she got hit up with some money from her mama. But then also, she may choose to believe that so that she don't have to acknowledge the potential reality of it all, which is that Christina ass is pulling big strings. And all that stuff that happened when they was in Artem and all that ain't over. And I kind of feel like Christina did that on purpose to cause dissension, more dissension essentially, between Letty and Ruby. Like, knowing that, you know, that's the story that Letty would ultimately have to tell or end up telling. And then her and her sister gonna end up beefed out. And as a colonizer colonizes, divide and conquer. Not to mention, okay, in a couple episodes, okay? Yeah. So Tick basically lets her know that he put it together through that name Winthrop. And he remembers it from the previous interactions. And that's how, you know what I'm saying, he put the pieces together to get that Christina is the puppet master. So he pulled a gun on her, trying to shoot her. But he is essentially frozen, if you will, right? And dumbfounded about it. Frustrated as well, rightfully so. And Christina looks a little shocked and also quite satisfied. And she goes on to give him a bit of family history. And in the midst, explain to him why he's experiencing his current experience. And that is because her father had done basically seemingly mastered the art of living forever. And his belief was that if you don't get harmed, ain't no way for you to die, okay? And so it's called the invulnerability spell. And that's what she is under. I also am going to be paying even more attention now to see if I feel like that spell also works in a emotional way. Okay, hold that thought though, huh? Hold that thought. But so yeah, he ain't trying to hear, you know what I'm saying, the family history and all that. He ain't want to hear that shit. But after he fails to fucking kill her and she going through opening the blind, continuing the family history, letting him know about the invulnerability spell and all this and that and the third, she walks back up on him. And this is basically definitely her grandstanding, because back at the ranch, Tick had privilege as a man. But out here, Christina has the privilege as a white woman. And I love how they portray that parallel and that seesaw of privilege between Tick as a black man and Christina as a white woman. Because, try to briefly explain this. There's this book called Brainwash by Tom Burrell, and he has a segment in the book about the parallels and the seesaw of privilege between black men and white women. It's also to be noted here that Christina is phenotypically at the top of the totem pole when it comes to white woman privilege. She is very fair skinned, has very light blonde hair, and very definitive blue eyes. Often has rosy lips as well. Very straight, narrow, yet symmetrical features. She's pretty tall. and a curvy type of slim. Okay? And don't get me wrong, like, she's gorgeous either way. Okay? But she fits the high-ranked phenotype of a white woman. Okay? So she at the top of the top in that particular segment of the hierarchy. Tick, as a lot of people would say, is civil rights fine. He's not the darkest of dark skin, but he's not light skin either. He's a pretty even tone light brown, if you will, but not light either. You know what I'm saying? Okay? And those types of black men, in the superficial sense, phenotypically, are seen as the strong, protective, noble, righteous, more attractive black man. Because, you know, the colorism of it all, they don't want them to be too dark. But then the feminization of light-skinned men, they don't want them to be too light either. So, as far as all those isms and the standard of the hierarchy and all that goes, Tick is in the perfect place as well in the hierarchy. He could also be seen as the good black boy. Okay, the seemingly non-threatening black man until he starts talking and white people see how intelligent he is actually. But that works for him in his community, in the black community, that works for him. He's held at high esteem. You see what I'm saying? So that privilege and the oppression ebbs and flows. It seesaws in the same way Christina's does. Her privilege and her oppression seesaws depending on where she is. Okay? Okay. So yeah, that's talked about in that book, Brainwashed. And he also has some explanation, you know, it adds some explanation as to a sometimes mindless and sometimes mindful bond that black men and white women end up having. They can relate to each other in the way that they are both oppressed almost as much as they are privileged. And they can also go back and forth, weaponizing their oppression and weaponizing their privilege against each other, which can create this Tom and Jerry type of relationship. And we definitely see that in this scene alone. You see it throughout the season, but you see it in this scene alone, how that plays out. Not to mention, Tick, you know, in this case, in the series, Tick and Christina are cousins. You know, because of Tick's, I believe, great-great-grandfather. I believe it's the great-great-grandfather, who is the result of the young lady. I believe she was actually probably a teenager, likely, but his slave great-great-great-grandmother, who had a baby by the slave master, which is, if I'm not mistaken, Christina's great-great-great-great-grandfather type. You okay? You follow me? So they're cousins through, you know what I'm saying, that interaction type shit. And in the midst of Christina grandstanding and flexing on him, putting her dick on the table like, you see me? You see? I'm the captain now. She tells him, and she slips like a little card or whatever in his pocket to call her if he want to learn more about their family history. And she puts the icing on the cake, talking about, Tick, you got to be better than this, okay? Got to be more careful. You know you can't just go around killing white women. That's fucked up. But also, that's great, hilarious fucking writing. And once again, like, it's so fucking real. And that's why it's so fucking funny. Darkly humorous on some shit. Like, that's really fucked up. And again, another implication of what I was just talking about. That's her reinstating right here. I got the advantage. I got you by the balls. So you gonna have to be quicker than that. You gonna have to be smarter than that. Come on, bro. At least put up a fight, you know what I'm saying? Cause I ain't gonna lie, I don't know what the hell Tick was thinking. Like, okay, you closed the blinds, but you really thought that you was gonna be able to walk in there and just shoot that girl and then what, man? And then what? Like, poor little Tick. Who of the child. And I also have to note that another part of Tick's privilege, like, it's again another part of his privilege that also ebbs and flows. The fact that he's a military man. There's a duality of honor and disgrace, because he's privileged in certain areas and places, and depending on who he's interacting with and where he's at on being a military man, and having his uniform and all of that, and being able to say that he did it as well. But then you also got certain areas and people that will look down on him, like, you a damn fool, you've been fighting wars for a country that don't give a damn about you, and also don't really give a damn about the work that you've put in. They still gonna treat you like crap. The government still not gonna help you, like, talking about, and the experience of that has its own duality in the same thing. So yeah, but the privilege and some of the honor that does come with that is likely also a part of what gave Tick this overconfidence to go in there and think that he was gonna just kill that white woman in broad daylight as a black man in that society, let alone in that time period. And that's definitely why, like, especially like Jonathan Majors did that, honey, because the way he walked in as Tick, all eager beaver, just knowing he got it in a bag, it gives so much extra, like, validity and solidification, and also that dark hilarity, because he walks in shoulders back, chest forward, just know he about to show out, and child, within a couple of seconds he is deflated, shaking in his boots, sweating bullets. He is now the mouse. And she really had to sit up here and tell this man, like, you can't just be going around killing white women in broad daylight. And of course, during that time period in real life, that freaking statement and circumstance as a whole would not be fucking funny at all. But because we watching it on a show, and we focused on the story of it all and the artistry of it all, that's a cold ass, darkly humorous scene. I feel like it was done very well, got the job accomplished, and then some. Okay. Wonderful cinematography. Also, the cinematography for this series in general is top tier. But also for this episode specifically, they did they big one, honey. They did they big one. And they show so much homage to so many different horror films and things in this episode as well. And it's so perfectly done. Even though each episode is an hour, and that's quite a bit of time to fit quite a bit in there, they fit a whole freaking movie into an hour, perfectly paced, perfectly fleshed out, no pun intended, and perfectly acted, honey. Woo! Call the Holy Ghost, honey. Yes, in the spirit of the name of the episode, y'all, that was LoveCraft Country, my review and commentary for episode 3, Holy Ghost. And with all that being said, child, if I do say so myself, honey, I have milked this couch dry. And I'm thoroughly appreciative for the exchange of vibes. And if you're feeling synchronized, please do me a divine design and like, share, and subscribe so that you'll be one of the first to be back through these queenly waters for the next time. And be sure to bless my comment section with your questions and conversations. And as always, I bid you in all ways, light, love, healing, and liberation. Emphasis on liberation. Mwah.